Hello everyone, কেমন আছেন আপনারা সবাই? আশা করি ভালো আছেন. Welcome back to Business English. Today we are going to discuss telephone English. How to speak on the telephone in English. If you work in an office or want to work in an office, chances are you'll have to answer the telephone. Or at the very least, take a telephone interview. In this lesson, I'm going to give you lots of vocabularies and phrases you can use on the telephone. Tips to be understood on the telephone, and I will also give you telephone interview tips. Right, so let's get started with the lesson. Let's start by discussing what you should say when taking a telephone call. Obviously, you should start with hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time and situation is. You can also say your name and then speaking. Also, how may I help you? For example, hello, Cut Price Hair Salon, Rose speaking. How may I help you? You can also say this is and then your name as another way of saying your name, speaking. For example, good morning, Athlete's Foot Trainer Shop. This is Rose speaking. How may I help you? What you should say when making a call. Now, let's get to that. Well, you should always start with a hello, of course. And then you can say this is your name from your company, right? So, as an example, let's look at this. Hello, this is Rose from Bookworld. It's just an example. Now let's discuss asking for somebody. May I speak to, and then you just name the person. For example, may I speak to Ruby? Right. You could also say, I would like to speak to Ruby, please. See? So these are some of the differences here. For the next one, let's see. You could also say, is Ruby here? As in, you just say is and then the name and here. Or is the name you put and then available. For example, is Ruby available? Now let's talk about giving a reason for calling. You could say, I'm calling to ask about opening hours. I'm calling to discuss. I'm calling to discuss prices. Or this one, I'm calling to clarify the fixtures. You could also say, I just wanted to ask, and then you go ahead, whatever you want to ask. Like, I just wanted to ask if you need any more stationery. What about if you want to ask for information? You could say, could you tell me, right? Could you tell me when you're closing today? Now, let's discuss taking messages. You could say, could I ask who's calling, please? Or, I'm sorry, she's not here today. Could I take a message? And I'm afraid he's not available at the moment. Can I take a message? Or even, I'll give her your message as soon as she gets back. Now let's talk about leaving messages, right? You could say, can you please take a message? Or please tell him that his parcel have been delivered. And I'd like to leave him a message, right? Another thing you really should practice if you're going to have to speak on the phone is making small talk. This is really important. The most common one is, hi, Ruby, how are you? But you can also discuss the weather, for example. So, how's the weather? Where are you? Or a common topic, for example, have you seen that new pizza place in town? Or you can ask about location. For example, whereabouts are you calling from? So where are you calling from? Asking for repetition. How do you do that? You could say, could you spell that for me, please? Or, how do you spell that, please? And let me see if I've got that right. You could also say, would you mind speaking up a bit? I can't hear you very well. And you could even say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name. Now, how do you spell things on the phone? We're going to talk about spelling things on the phone. To spell things on the phone, we use the NATO phonetic alphabet. Now, what is that? You'll need to learn this off by heart. Every letter in the alphabet has a corresponding word. A, it's for alpha. B is for Bravo. Then we have C is for Charlie. We have D for Delta, E for Echo. F, we have that for Foxtrot. Then we have G for Golf, H for Hotel, I as in India. For J we have Juliet, K for Kilo, L for Lima. I'm sure you guys didn't know this. And even if you did, let's revise it, right? Do we know which one it is? For M, we have Mike, N for November, O for Oscar. Next, we have P for Papa, Q for Quebec, R for Romeo. Can you see these words? Next, we have S for Sierra, T we have for Tango, U we have for Uniform, V we have for Victor, W for Whiskey, and X for X-ray. We have Y for Yankee, Z for Zulu. See, these are the 26 phonetic words, and we should learn this by heart. Now finally, let's discuss ending the call. You could say thank you very much for your help. You could also say thanks for calling. And you could say thanks for your time. Now I'm going to give you some tips for telephone job interviews. The biggest tip I can give you is to smile. Because when you smile whilst talking, it comes over across the phone. You can always tell when someone is smiling, even if you can't see them. The second tip is to have notes. Have everything you might need to reference right in front of you and have it organized so that you can access it easily. Tip number 3 is pick a suitable location. You don't want to be in a cafe. Of course not, because there's so much noise, and also anywhere where there is too much background noise. So you have to be in a quiet place. You don't want to be distracted or disturbed. Tip number 4 is always have water nearby. You might have a dry throat. Tip number 5 is don't be afraid to ask for repetition or clarification. I mean, come on, use the phrases we discussed previously. And the last tip, tip number 6, is take notes for yourself. You might need them later on for a follow-up interview. Right, that's it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's go for the next lesson. Just click on the next video.